Right, this is a build showcase for 3.13 Incinerate Elementalist. Just grab a map real quick. Still on yellow maps. It's just quality. It's good. Alright.
When I'm ready, back everyone! Back!
Alright, I'm gonna stand in the Sacred Grove here and talk about the rest of the build. Because if I don't do that, I'm gonna forget that I had a Sacred Grove. Alright, so this is the 3.13 Incinerate Elementalist, and I'm basing this build off the typical Incinerate Inquisitor. And the things that really make this build shine are really it's a shield, a Aegis, or actually a combination of things. But the thing with this is you have a bunch of armor, and then you replenish a bunch of energy shield based on how much armor you have. when you block. So we have max block, armor, we have a good amount of energy shield, have also decent amount of energy shield regen and energy shield leech in this case. So there's a lot happening with the survivability and tankiness. The DPS is pretty good. The map clear is just okay. It's not great. Um, it's not the fastest build, but uh, so you make up for it by being super tanky. The reason why I'm getting such juicy explosions is really Infernal Cry. And this is, I, I think before this gem became a thing, this build probably really struggled with map clear. But with Infernal Cry, that's how I'm getting those big juicy explosions along with the Herald of Ash. And then I just have it linked to second wind so that I can use it twice if I need to. And it brings the cooldown a little bit as well. Um, so there are a lot of things that make this build happen. Um, but I'll talk a little bit about why I chose Elementalist instead of Inquisitor. Inquisitor, you would get a lot of life regen and energy shield regen, and you would really just play it as life and energy shield. And I chose Elementalist instead. And Elementalist also can get a lot of regen from the Stone Golem. Also get good physical damage reduction from a Chaos Golem. So I'm stacking Golem buffs basically. And the one reason why I decided on Golem buffs is it's dumb. It's because I got this talisman. So you don't have to have this talisman to make it work. Um, I just happened to drop a talisman that had really good stats and had the Golem commander already anointed on it. And basically, what that does is give you an extra Golem, a little bit to the Golem buffs, and you stack that with the extra Golems that you get from the Ascendancy for Elementalists. And the more Golems you have, the more buffs they get. Also, the more Golems you have, the more damage you have. All of that, and I had an Anima Stone already from playing with an Elementalist earlier in the league. So yeah, I was stacking all these Golem buffs. That's why I decided on Elementalist. Elementalist also had a rework. This new Mastermind of Discord gives extra exposure when you apply exposure. We're doing that through Wave of Conviction that's linked to cast when damage taken, and this gets procced basically all the time because we're getting hit all the time. We're recovering so fast, it's hard to tell. So we're always applying exposure. And this new notable here, Heart of Destruction, gives me a bunch of area of effect for Incinerate until I hit a boss. And then once I hit a boss, that area of effect goes away, but I get 30% more extra elemental damage, and that's a huge buff. So when you're comparing this to Inquisitor, Inquisitor got a rework as well. They have the new Fanaticism um, node that gives a bunch of cast speed and area of effect if you attack. And it, when I thought about it, I'm like, oh, it makes sense to use Inquisitor because you don't even really need to attack. You're attacking when using Reckoning when you block. And so if you block 3 times, then you get that buff, the Fanaticism buff. But when I put all this down on Path of Building, I realized that the cast speed you get from the Lightning Golem is quite a bit, and it's not 75% more cast speed like you'd get in Inquisitor, but um, it's still a good amount of cast speed, and my damage is about 3 million Shaper DPS still. So it's comparable to Inquisitor, and it works pretty well. I like using the Golem buffs. So, and just wanted to play with the new Elementalist So this build really functions well because it has max block and energy shield and block. Um, and I'm also using a couple cluster jewels. These are just some spell notables. Then I'm using some medium clusters with Stalwart Commander, which gives more armor and discipline for determination and discipline, or more. I mean, sorry, more armor and energy shield for determination and discipline. I'm also using uncompromising, which gives me mana reduction or reduced mana reserve for determination. So because of that, I can use I'm also using Skitterbots because I have more mana to use. So I'm using Skitterbots, Herald of Ash, Determination, and Discipline. One thing that really helps make this build shine is this Nature's Patience. You get 2 vines per second while you're stationary, so I have 10 vines, and for each vine you get 2% chance to deal double damage. So it's 20% chance, then 1% less damage taken per vine. Downside, each vine inflicts 8% less movement speed. The way we work around that is we use the Stampede, which makes it so that your movement speed is 100%, 150% of its base value. Um, and so that cancels out the effect of the vines. The downside, your movement speed can't be more than 150% of the base value. So hence why I'm not even using a Quicksilver Flask here. Um, I'm also using Coward's Legacy, which makes me cursed with vulnerability, which makes and it says here you count as low life when you're cursed with vulnerability. Then because I count as low life, I'm also using Pain Attunement. I have a Watcher's Eye with unaffected by vulnerability while affected by determination. So that vulnerability doesn't even matter. Still get 30% more spell damage. And so one other way that this build differs from the Inquisitor usually has about 4,000 life and 3,000 energy shield, whereas somewhere in that ballpark, it relies on life and an energy shield. I decided to go with Chaos Inoculation instead, and because the Inquisitor build really relies on stacking as much chaos resistance on gear, and I hate shopping for gear, and so I decided instead of doing that, I would just go CI and shop for gear that had a bunch of energy shield instead, and stack energy shield, not have to worry about chaos damage. Um, the uh, the Inquisitor also gets a lot of life and energy shield regen because when you're standing in consecrated ground, which you are all the time when you're stationary as Inquisitor, you get a bunch of life and energy shield regen. I'm only getting energy shield regen because I'm using this armor, which makes me have Zealot's Oath, Skin of the Lords, and Skin of the Lords is a special kind of chess piece that always gives some kind of notable on there. I just happened to find this one with Zealot's Oath, and it had the colors I needed. So I was like, okay, let's just get that. I think I bought it for about 40 chaos. And so, because it's Zealot's Oath, life regen is applied to energy shield instead. So there's no point um, of using life regen. And so I'm using a stone golem, and so that life regen has become energy shield regen. So I have 929 energy shield regen per second, on top of about 1,000 energy shield leech per second, which is a lot. And then this several hundred energy shield on block. This weapon right here, Cerberus Limb, is uh, typically used for this build, and it gives life leech. Spell damages life leech, and so that's why this build usually works so well for Inquisitor because you have both life leech and energy shield leech, and life and energy shield regen. Uh, but because I chose Elementalist instead, I'm using Zealot's Oath. I decided to pick up Ghost Reaver and do Chaos Inoculation, so that way all the leech just applies to energy shield instead. Um, yeah, so there's a lot to this build, but it's fun because the explosions are really satisfying. It isn't the fastest build. Sometimes I like to play really fast builds, but this Infernal Cry is really a cool thing to use, and it's cool to see the big explosions. That on top of the Herald at Vash MTX is really cool. I think one thing that would really help this build go to the next level and really shine is if I had a Skin of the Lords that had Call to Arms on it. And what Call to Arms does is makes Warcries instant. So I could channel um, Incinerate and then use my Warcries without with it being instant instead of actually having to use it, stop channeling Incinerate. Or I could even put the Warcry on the left click and walk around and instantly Warcry while I'm moving. Um, so I haven't been able to find a Skin of the Lords with 4 blues, 2 reds with Call of Arms yet. I think once I do, that'll make this build even more smooth. As of right now, it's just pretty fun to play. Big explosions, golems, elementalist. Yeah, rework. Lots of fun. So, cool. Thanks for watching my video. Bye.